I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and today we're taking a detailed look at the Lululemon Cruiser Large Backpack 28 liter, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. If you found this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. Let's dive in. So we are going to start off with this stowaway basket here on the bottom. So this is designed to hold a yoga mat, and you can see that this pocket is fairly large and there's a lot of extra space here. I can turn that up so you can see it a little bit better. And it does have this nice like bungee elastic, and so it can hold a larger yoga mat, but where you run into a problem is this strap up here, which is designed to hold the yoga mat to the pack. That you can see it's pushing into the yoga mat, and I am out of length there. So if you have anything a little bit thicker than this mat right here, which it is on the thicker side, but I've definitely seen thicker yoga mats than this, then you could run into problems with actually being able to hold it in place with this strap here. In general too, I found that it hangs so low off the pack. I wish it kind of was flush with the bottom of the pack and then the yoga mat was sticking up higher. I think, you know, the purpose was so that the top of the mat would be even with the top of the pack. But what this does is makes it really hard to set the pack down when you have this yoga mat in place. So I found this to be a little bit clunky, but I see what they were trying to go for. So what you do when you're taking the yoga mat out, you just unclip that. And then you have this clip is removable. It's a little strap that sits up here, but it sits nice and flush to the pack. You know, when everything is all tightened up. So it's not really in the way. I never found that I had to remove it. And then this big old stowaway basket gets tucked into the bottom of the pack here. There's a little pocket for it to go into. I did find that to be a little bit clunky to get it back in. It just kind of sticks out a little bit bulky once it's added back into that pocket there. So the rest of the pack is simple in terms of external components here. We've just got a carry handle on the back. What's nice about this placement being so close to the straps is that when you hang this up either like in a gym locker or in a bathroom stall, it hangs nice and flush to the wall, which is great because that's a lot of the function of this pack is for like the gym and that sort of thing, or going from, you know, work to gym. And then around the other pack, the rest of the pack here, we've got these little zipper pulls. I find that the zippers are pretty clunky. So then when you're looking at these zipper pulls here, they have some nice like hypalon on the bottom here, but the pulls themselves feel a little bit thin for how large the zippers are. I think that's mostly a personal preference, but that was something that I found a little bit disjointed in terms of the style of the pack. The harness system on this pack is fairly simple. So you've just got these straps here and then a nice padded or mesh back panel and then the sternum strap. So the shoulder straps have a little bit of mesh on the underside of them, but it's not really super padded. So I found this really interesting because it's a 28 liter backpack and it is fairly large. And then to not have a ton of padding here is interesting. It was fairly comfortable, but just something to note. And then the sternum strap here has these, you know, different attachment points here all the way up and down the pack, and then they slide within the individual loops, and then it's removable if you don't need them. So then on the back panel here, we have a little bit of mesh, again, not super padded, but just enough, and then a luggage pass-through right here. Another interesting note is that these straps are technically removable with a buckle, but they don't have anywhere to go. So they're not really stowaway straps. There's nothing to them. I guess you could technically put them through the luggage pass-through if you wanted to do that, and then it gives you kind of like a lower profile when you have it stored on a piece of luggage or something like that. But I didn't really find myself needing to use that. And then when I had them tightened, there's a fair amount of strap left over and no strap keeper or management or anything like that. So very simple back panel and harness system. Not a ton really going on back here. So this is how the pack fits without, or looks without, the yoga mat attached to it. It is fairly comfortable considering how small or how thin these straps are. So I did find myself really wanting to use these sternum straps, especially when the pack was fully packed. But considering, you know, how thin they are and how large this pack is, it is still a fairly comfortable carry. This is the backpack with the yoga mat attached to it. So you can see that basket hangs down really low. It just looks a little bit silly. It feels a little bit out of place, and it feels like an afterthought considering that that's a large draw of this pack, is that you can attach a yoga mat to it. So with that hanging so far down, it makes it hard to set the pack down. And then additionally, when this pack is filled out all the way, you can see the mat is kind of curving a little bit with it, and that's because it really runs out of space for that attachment. The laptop compartment is this back zipper here. So when you look in here, you can see I've got a 16-inch MacBook Pro in here, and it fits within this little sleeve down here. It is a bit of a tight squeeze when the pack is fully packed out. I found this back laptop compartment to be a little bit hard to get into because everything starts to kind of push back in that area. And then with this frame sheet too being a little bit curved, it's kind of, you can like, it's flexible, so you can pop it out towards the back to get like a better grip when you pull the laptop out. But something to keep in mind is that access can be a little bit tricky. And then this back sleeve here has a really generous false bottom, which I really liked. So then moving to the rest of the pockets on the outside, we have two on the sides. This one here is a zippered pocket that has a key leash on the inside for your keys. Fairly simple, but it was nice to have a dedicated spot for them. That pocket is pretty large though, and same with the one on the other side. So this one is just like a lidded one with a little magnetic buckle to keep it closed. And then you can see it has like a felty, kind of felt-like fabric on the inside there, which is good for scratch resistance. So that's somewhere where you would put your phone. But again, these pockets seemed a little bit large and a little bit overkill for this pack and what goes inside of them. You know, there's a ton of extra space to work with. So then on the front here, we have 4 different pockets, starting out with this little zippered small one. This opens in a horseshoe and folds open fully like that. And then there's a little mesh elastic pocket on the inside. I found that whatever gear I put in here had to be inside of this mesh pocket because this horseshoe opening puts your gear at risk of falling out. And there's only one zipper that goes from one side to the other. So you can't you can kind of unzip it this way, but if you want to unzip this fully, anything that's just loose in there could fall out. And I did have issues with things just kind of like toppling forward, especially once the weight pushed the actual opening open a little bit more. And then down here we have another kind of similar magnetic buckle to the outside one. And this is a great like dump pocket because it's so easy to get into. I have my wallet in here, but I also put, you know, either chapstick or, you know, anything that I wanted quick access to. And then this side pocket here is a, you know, tall vertical pocket that, similar to this horseshoe shape, opens, you know, almost fully to the side. And this is another one where I really felt like I had to open it almost like halfway in order to feel like my gear wasn't going to fall out. It does make it easier to load, but this one has some pen loops, and then you can put, you know, like a notebook in here, or like I have a charger in here too. So it just, these like tall mesh pockets are nice and easy for like taller gear. I didn't find myself using this pocket a ton. It was kind of an interesting shape for me. And then with this sunglasses pocket, this is a hard shell. And then this additionally has a soft liner for protection. But I mean, I opened this up and you can see like my sunglasses are, I mean, they're truly like a third of the capacity of this thing. So this size really feels like overkill, and it does flip down entirely. So it ends up being sort of like a shelf for your sunglasses, but I was always afraid that when I opened it up, they would just fall out completely. So this one, unlike the others, does have 2 zippers. So you could technically open it up halfway and get to your glasses and slip them out. But, you know, that seems like something that is just like a bit of an oversight to keep your sunglasses protected. And then with the shape of all of these and how they kind of interact with each other, it can be hard to, for one, it's hard to get around corner zippers, but it can also be difficult because of how this pocket starts to interact. If the bag's a little bit too empty, it can start to cave in, and then it's difficult to get to those zippers to unzip each of the compartments. With this pack completely full, it does kind of stand up on its own, though it doesn't look the best, so it's really leaning forward. However, if that's something that you really like, when this is full, that is an option. So getting into the main compartment here, I have this fully packed out with packing cubes and really just like anything that I would potentially put in here. And so that kind of gives you an idea of how much it can actually fit. I'm just going to set those off to the side. But you can see now, I'm going to like close this up. Without all of that in there, you can see that it starts to like sort of cave in on the front here. And part of that I think is just like the weight of this pocket. So it does make it harder to start to pack this main compartment. So there's a couple of different things that make it hard to get to the bottom. Starting off here, we've got this zippered pocket. It's like a large vertical pocket. And you don't have to put anything in here, but considering if you're going to be using this for like gym use or something like that, this is a really great spot to put like your gym shoes. So I've got like my pair that I just always wear indoors. I just put right in here, and then they're just like out of the way. You can put like your extra pair of clothes or like a outfit, gym outfit, something like that in there as well. But it is like a little bit awkward to get into. And then a little bit awkward to close as well. It's like if you're not utilizing that material, there's just so much material to work with, and you're just kind of always pushing it out of the way. So that felt a little bit interesting, but when you don't have anything in there, you do have so much more space to work with in terms of packability. So looking at this back panel here, we've got 2 mesh pockets down at the bottom, and then we've got a zippered pocket up top. And so these kind of act as like any sort of dump pocket internal storage you want. Like I've got a keyboard here, and then I've got a mouse here. But the one thing I did find is that I used this top zippered pocket the most. See, it just kind of sits nice and flush. The reason I use this one the most is because it was really hard to get to these bottom pockets when it's all packed out. So, I mean, even once I put a single packing cube in here, down at the bottom, it's like you can kind of get your hand back there, but then say you wanted to add in another one and then add in another one, you know, you kind of lose all of that access. But if I wanted to, I can pull these packing cubes forward and get to this top pocket here. So it felt a little bit awkward to use the storage on the inside of this pack. I just felt like between these front pockets, really pulling everything forward, and then the sort of like odd arrangement of everything in here, once it was all fully packed out, it just made it a little bit tough to get a handle on my gear. But if you are using this as something where you're just like sticking a couple of extra pairs of clothes in here, your gym shoes, that sort of thing, you're just like heading to a yoga class or something like that, then you do have a lot of space to work with that 28 liters. So there you have it, the Lululemon Cruiser Large Backpack. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.